Right, so good evening and welcome back to the Easy Talk, not the bite size. It's going to be hopefully a feature-length version. And if you're wondering why we're all wearing the hats, it's because we're at Royal Ascot. No, actually, no. It was it was actually Terry's idea, wasn't it, Terry?
Absolutely, lads. You all look wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I've got a quick question for you before we start. Why are we all wearing glasses except Big Al?
I feel a joke coming on. I'm not sure.
Obviously, our eyesight's affected by it anyway.
Shall I go and get my glasses?
Go on, get the glasses out.
Go off, get the glasses.
Right, so yeah, it seems like an age, since we've done an Easy Talk, and as I've done in my promo work this week and last week, because of the international break and also for the FA Cup round matches that unfortunately Arsenal are not part of. But I thought I'd bring like a wealth of knowledge into the show this evening. So I've got James Rowe all the way out there in NL. James, how's it going?
Very well, thank you. How are you all?
Very well, thank you.
Can I do a big round of applause for James? The stuff he puts online is wonderful. Honestly, James.
Thank you very much.
Honestly,
thank you very
great
much.
stuff, man.
Well done, James.
Just have to keep working hard, eh?
Yeah, and I've got TC from I'm Gonna Talk. TC, how's it going?
Not too bad, not too bad. Long time, Alex.
Yeah. Like I said, it seems like an age, you know what I mean?
No.
Where's your sombrero?
Do you know what? I need to be fine. Week's wage. Week's wage is fine. I'm not having a hat.
All right. Make sure you send the check into post for me, please.
I will do.
All right. And last but not least, we've got the original Godfather himself, El Tel. How's it going?
Yay! Solid, guys. Solid.
Nice one. Good to have you back.
Yeah.
So yeah, we thought because it's been such a long time, let's talk about and get into it. The next available match, which is going to be next week, Monday, against Newcastle. And I wanted to ask James, what are your thoughts on the next match against Newcastle? Rafa Benitez, his men, red and white, black and white.
I think it's going to be. It's not going to be an easy game. I think also with the setting of a Monday night is going to be a bit different under the lights and everything. And obviously, with all the competitors having played before we've played, again, you've got that kind of situation. But I think it'll be interesting. I think it'll be tougher than what people think it's going to be.
Yeah.
But we're at home. We're at home, and we've got to take the initiative. And I remember last season when I went to Arsenal Newcastle at home. I think it was in December, and we only won 1-0 through a goal by Mesut Ozil. What a great goal it was, by the way. But yeah, we've got to take one game at a time. I know it sounds cliche. I mean, I see on Twitter a lot of people talking about the remaining fixtures and how many points Arsenal could get, and the double header against Napoli. Just take it each game at a time. Always remember as well, at this time of the year you always get strange results, both at home and abroad. It's part and parcel of these parts of the season. So I think it will be a very interesting game, but I think that Arsenal will win 2-1, I think.
2-1. TC, what's your thoughts about next match against Rafael Benitez and Newcastle?
When Arsenal play Newcastle, immediately I get nightmares of that 4-4 draw. I don't know if you all remember years ago. I get nightmares straight away as soon as you mentioned Newcastle. But not to sort of overpraise Newcastle, I believe Rafa has done an amazing job there. If you're talking in footballing terms and not being biased towards Arsenal, Rafa has done an incredible job there in terms of the resources that he's got to his exposure and what he's been able to do with the team. He's also brought in this young kid in midfielder. He's now injured at the moment, but I can't remember his name. He's English.
Wagstaff.
Who?
Wagstaff.
Yeah, I think that's him. He's a young kid, brought into the team recently, and he's been absolutely phenomenal. And all credit when it's due to Rafa. Of course, it's a good thing that he's injured because he was playing really, really well for Newcastle prior to his injury. But it's not going to be an easy game, as James has said. It's going to be an extremely tough game. Solomon Rondon, I believe, is on about 12 goals now this season. something along those lines. They've recently added as well Miguel Almiron, who's a player that a lot of people were anticipating that he was going to end up at Arsenal. Never happened in the end. They've ended up spending 20-odd million pound in him, and he looks a world beater. At times when he's playing, he looks absolutely phenomenal. He's not used to the pace of the game as yet, but I believe with this tiny little break that we've just had, he may be the crucial man for Newcastle going forward, and Arsenal really need to be careful with him, as well as the fact that Ayoze Perez has been playing really well as well for them. He's been absolutely phenomenal. Their defender, Shah, who came in from Sweden, I believe, he's been having a few good games, scored an amazing goal a few weeks back, the long-range screamer. So it's not going to be an easy game. Our team needs to be on the ball. But as James said as well, we need to take the initiative as we're playing at home. We shouldn't sit back. In theory and on paper, Newcastle shouldn't cause us any trouble. But this is the Premier League. And, of course, they recently claimed results. Is it Man City as well they got a result from?
Yeah, that was it at home in Newcastle, yes.
Exactly, yeah. So they can turn up on the day, and if they do, Rafa is well organised and his team can actually execute whatever he's telling them to do. So it's not going to be an easy game, guys.
Godfather.
Yeah, I mean, as soon as I thought Newcastle, I thought Rafael Benitez, very good manager, top draw manager. Every time we're linked with a player, and there'll be a list of clubs, and it'll be Arsenal linked with this player, and it could be Liverpool, could be Man U, but always amongst them is Newcastle. He knows he's good players. The guy knows what he's doing. He's on a shoestring budget. He always does a wonderful job. And I did think this could be a trip-up fixture until I looked at our home record and Newcastle's away record. And that would point to a 2-0 win. That would point to a win. Now, with Mustafi at the back, you can never predict no goals let in. So I will be delighted with a 2-0 win. More worryingly, I think we'll push it through. They're going to be tricky. They've got some cracking players, and he's a wonderful manager. And he's a bit like Emery. He sets his team up to beat the players that are in front of his team. So he's a tactician, you know. But in the background, without preempting what's coming along later, is Napoli. And I think Emery will be looking at playing one set of players against Newcastle and maybe drafting in a few others against Napoli.
I know Xhaka is well, he was taken off during the international break quite early. Will that be a major factor if he doesn't end up playing on Monday night, TC?
I think we can get away without Xhaka on Monday night. I believe Guendouzi can come in such a game as this one to do the job. But I believe going forward, and in the last few weeks or so, Xhaka has become more and more important for us. I've mentioned from the start of the season, I could see that when Torreira and Xhaka play together, it gives Xhaka that little bit of freedom for him to make his mistakes, for him to spray those passes, and for him to move slightly a little bit further up the pitch, because he knows there's someone who's going to clean up behind him. There's always going to be the fixer there. So I believe we can get away without Xhaka. I believe we would need him for Thursday more than we need him on Monday.
Yeah.
There was an interview that he did during the international break, and I did notice on Twitter some people have been a little bit annoyed at the interview he did, where he's actually saying that maybe Arsenal's not going to be the last stop for him in his career. Is his timing off? Should he have said that?
No. He shouldn't have said it. If you got a boss paying you, you keep very quiet. They're getting paid big money, and you shouldn't say that. But these guys are so cocky because they're earning such massive money. They do stupid things. You know, if he shouldn't have said that. And yes, I mean the sort of the elephant in the room, I think, is that if things don't work out, Emery will not stay around beyond his contract. So we've got to show up for him. Stanley Kroenke and all the guys have got to show up too, and they've got to allow Emery, who I think has done a fantastic job. Very difficult to argue against everything he's done. He's a very good coach. There's no doubt about that. And he's not got a history of staying in places long. So, you know, if Xhaka's going to start kind of mouthing it off, if I was his manager, I wouldn't be sort of happy. I know Torreira's dad as well said that he might move on and go somewhere else and so on. I think those players shouldn't be doing that, because the guy who's paying you, you owe him respect, and you should just crack on with the job. Yeah.
But isn't that a sign of modern day football, where you've got players, you know, who speak even in Twitter, you know, after a match, how they're feeling, you know, whether it's been a win, you know, a loss. It's a sign of modern football, isn't it, James? Where you've got players just saying what they feel.
If I can make an important point, I've been fortunate enough to interview professional players and managers now for the last 2.5 years. And one thing I must say about this is that some players are fully aware that you can't plan a career. You can't plan a career in football. It simply doesn't work like that. It could come down to injury. It could come down to personal choice. It could come down to a new manager coming in. And I think some players sometimes think of things a little bit too easy. It also, the small details in terms of what was said and the context upon which it was said. Like, I'll give you an example. The interviews that I publish, the quotes are exactly that. Nothing has been airbrushed, nothing has been added, nothing has been blown up. It is exactly how you're supposed to read it. But obviously different outlets and everything will kind of try to make something that little bit bigger. And I always believe that the player or manager, they have to take responsibility for what they say. You know, it's a global game now. It's a commercial game now where there's interest all over the shop. I'll give you an example. I'm on the metro home from my job to my home on Wednesday, and who do I see getting into the metro wearing a Manchester City backpack? A young student. I live in Amsterdam, so I'm going home from my job, and there's a student that comes into the metro and sits next to me, and he's wearing a Manchester City backpack. And I thought to myself, 15, 20 years ago, that would have never happened. No. But obviously now, with how big everything has become, it's just like a snowball effect, really. But I just think players have to take responsibility for what they say. And my view on Xhaka is you can't plan a career. It could come down to a bad injury. It's not always. You can't always pre-plan such a thing. So you just have to wait and see. I know his brother is at FC Basel. I don't know if he'll be reunited with his brother before the end of his career. I think that might be a sentimental thing. But yeah, we just have to wait and see how it goes. But I think also with the international break, I think some fans were getting restless, and obviously they're looking for little pockets of information. But for me, I actually quite enjoyed the international break. A nice anecdote is I went out to run a few errands and I bumped into the German national team bus. So that was quite interesting.
Did you get any interviews, James?
No, they. I think there was like a television crew. I think they was all waiting outside a hotel, and I've just walked past and I thought, oh, it's a German team bus. I thought I'd take a photo, but obviously it didn't hang around, so I had a few errands to run. But yeah, I personally quite enjoyed the international break. But I think some Arsenal fans that were getting a bit restless were just maybe pinpointing and looking for information, and then making things just that little bit bigger.
Stacey, what do you think? You know, do you think it was
to add what James has said, right? It's now a global game, and you shouldn't take what's being published as gospel, right? The reporter may have spiced it up a little bit, added a little twist to that story. And of course, in most cases, these players won't come out and they won't rectify these things. There's an element of there's a part of me that thinks that there's an element of this that players enjoy, seeing all the rumors and the reports flying around. Of course, they're seeing this. Of course, they're reading this. But another side to this story. On the flip side, let's assume those quotes are correct and accurate to the word, right? When is Xhaka's contract up?
Well, he's just recently signed a 5-year contract, hasn't he?
Oh yeah, the World Cup, didn't he? He signed at the World Cup. He followed him out at the World Cup. Okay. To me, I was thinking it's a ploy to obviously try and get a new deal. No. But it doesn't seem like I completely forgot that they followed him to the World Cup, made him sign a contract. I don't know. It's a complicated one, but we should not take what these publications put out as gospel. That's what as James said. For him personally, he puts it out word for word. Yeah. But if you're looking at a big multinational corporation, they want the most amount of clicks on their articles.
TC, I fully agree. But from my point of view, my name is on it, and I don't want to be linked with anything or accused of anything in the future, which could kind of put disrupt things. For example, when you're trying to build a reputation bit by bit, and like for example with the previous interview with Sebastian Larsson, when we spoke about Arsenal, you know, I knew that was going to be well received by Arsenal fans. Well, it's nice to interview a player with an Arsenal past, but we also spoke about, you know, 100 caps for Sweden, when he said, you know, that it's not something you tick off bit by bit. You know, it kind of creeps up on you. And you make a good point about the clickbait as well. But from my point of view, you know, obviously I'm still a novice in some parts, you could say, in comparison to the big boys. But for me, it's about doing justice to every single player and every single manager, because everyone's got a story to tell. And for me, it's not about me. It's about the player or the manager. But as you rightly say, with the clickbait of some, it's about making it really, really big to get more and more interest and blow things up just that little bit more.
To sensationalize. And my point is really here is, correct me if I'm wrong, but let's assume I work for the Sun sports department, right? And I'm on a full-time contract with them. Don't any work that I conduct under the Sun brand isn't it their IP, intellectual property? Doesn't it belong to them? And in turn, that means they can do what they want. That's the point I'm trying to make. I don't know how it works. I'm looking for guidance on this one, but I'm assuming.
Yeah, well, as you say, with the clout of some of the big international companies, I'm sure there's protocol and lots of different things like that. And but yeah, as you say, you know, it's the clickbait kind of things with rumors and stuff. It has really gained momentum through the years. I mean, I think BBC Sport even have what they call like a gossip page.
I like the gossip page. I've been reading it for years.
Yeah. I wonder how much of it is really true. You know, I do wonder.
I'd say 3% will be true.
Yeah, you got
guys. I'm pretty sure in Arsenal players' contracts and most soccer teams, there are caveats that say they really have a limit to what they can go out and say, which is actually makes sense, because in most jobs you can't go slagging off your boss and expect there not to be repercussions. So yes, they're paid massive money, and there are limits to what these players can say. But as you say, the sort of gutter press and the Sun is probably the worst of the ones you can think of. They will print almost anything, as we've all seen, without any backing, and it's very difficult to draw them through a legal process to prove they're actually wrong. So
they're not accountable for their actions. They're not accountable at all.
I've stopped reading newspapers now. I've just stopped doing it. I only used to read them for the Arsenal, and now I've stopped even doing that, because they are just rubbish. You know.
I have.
Yeah.
Sorry, Terry.
Yeah, well, you know, I'm just saying that. Yeah, I think players have to be careful what they say. In terms of Xhaka, if we get back to the football, I always thought Xhaka was had the distribution skills of Emmanuel Petit, but none of the defensive skills. But in the last year, steadily, I can see the way Emery and his backroom team have improved his defensive capabilities. He's crisper into the tackle. He times it better. He's not great at working out vision. He doesn't quite see players running, sort of that run off him and so on. But it's definitely improved. And, you know, it's looking hopeful. Yeah.
I think probably it's more down to Lucas Torreira, rather than Xhaka improving his way of play. I think it's more down to Torreira, literally being mindful of not only being defending the team, but being mindful that one mistake that Xhaka makes could cost
detrimental.
I think it's more down to Torreira than Xhaka really improving the way that he plays. But I do like Xhaka. And just want to go back to about the global brand, which is the Premier League. I remember I was working in Costa Rica almost 10 years ago, and the Premier League over there is very, very big. You had children and grown-ups wearing Newcastle tops, Manchester United T-shirts. So even back 10 years ago, you know, the Premier League has been big business. The other thing I wanted to say as well, wasn't Xhaka involved in some kind of altercation with some fans? I think after the match, didn't some fans get into I don't know, his face, or was
he was with his wife at the time. And I thought those actions were despicable. Yes, we all have opinions, but you don't attack a man over his job. You don't confront a man over his job. He's not a public servant. He's not a civil servant. It doesn't work for us, the people. He's a guy who plays football for a living, you know. And to me, it's you can't condone that. So maybe he's holding that against the fans. You never know. He might be holding a grudge. But a lot of people that I personally know did not agree with those actions. You know, it's the same as when the team got beaten away. Was it Borisov?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, no, it was in Rennes. We lost in Rennes.
Yeah.
There was a bunch of guys at the airport abusing the players. You know, I understand these people pay and spend a lot of money to go to these games, home and away, but no one forces them to do so.
It's a choice.
It's a choice. Yeah, you make the choice, and once you make that choice, you should know what comes with that. Making that choice, you could come away disappointed. You know, you're not going to win every time. Impossible. Yeah. It's not the 49 unbeaten run. It's different now. So, but for me personally, those actions, you can't condone those actions, and I won't be surprised if he's holding that against the fans.
Yeah. Just before we continue, just want to say, make sure you subscribe to James Rowe NL. I've left the link of his Twitter handle in the comments box, as well as Elto, the original Godfather. Make sure you follow his Twitter handle. Great knowledge on hurling.
Hey. Guys, if you've never watched a hurling match, just go onto YouTube and watch it. I've been sending Big Al there loads of videos. It's a cross between hockey, rugby, and soccer. It's a man's game. Shoulder barges are de rigueur. It's just incredibly skillful. These guys are fast, but they're all 6'2" plus. They're built like rugby players, and it's a cracking game. It's the world's fastest ball field sport, and it's well worth it. Check it out, man. If you get a chance, if you're around London, the London Irish team play at Ruislip. Okay. So, but you can just watch it online or go into any pub on a particular Sunday or Saturday. It's a phenomenal game. It's played on a massive pitch, 15 aside, and these guys don't mess about. And yet, even though they really barge each other and they push each other all over the place, you never get fist fights. You never get. They just go so far. They've got the sort of discipline of rugby players, you know. And it's a cracking game. So if you do get a chance, I work with a guy who's got no Irish links at all. And once he went to a game and he said, what a game. He's unfortunately, he's a supporter of a team at the other end of Seven Sisters Road. I won't mention anymore. Hey,
let's not mention it.
So there you go. You heard it hurling right there from the mouth of the Godfather. And also, I've left the description and a link for Twitter handle and YouTube channel of TC I Am Gonna Talk. Again, fantastic channel for Arsenal followers all around the world. Right, so the next thing we actually wanted to talk about, and like I said, before we came live, I did say that we were having a conversation, I think it was on fan comments, with James Rowe and Colin about the Europa League matches with Napoli. And I kind of felt we had to kind of end that segment a little bit early because James Rowe, as you know, he's in big demand. He's reached 2,900 Twitter followers. So again, congratulations, James.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. So, T, so I'm going to go to you. Napoli, is it going to be easy? Yeah. Are we going to blow them away, or we're going to maybe come unstuck?
Obviously, you can't predict what happens in a football match. Very difficult to predict. However, Napoli is going to be an extremely difficult challenge for Arsenal. Maybe one challenge too big, but never lose faith, of course. Always faithful in terms of we can obtain a result. On our day, if we do turn up, we could get a result from there. But obviously, Napoli ain't the team that was scoring 30, 40 plus league goals. Well, not league goals, but goals with Higuain in the league. So it's a different team now. It's a different beast. But they still have the players in their team that could cause us a lot of problems. They've got the veteran. I can't believe I'm calling this guy a veteran now, but Hamsik. He's been there for forever, you know, and he's still playing at a good level as well, and he's still making things happen for them. Koulibaly as well is in and amongst all of that. And the attacking players, Insigne, I believe, is one of the players up top. Very talented young man. So I don't know how our defence will cope with the attacking waves from Napoli, because don't get me wrong, they will be coming at us. They will be coming at us constantly as well, constantly. And my only issue here is as well, why did the FA schedule our game on Monday, knowing that we're playing on a Thursday in the Europa League? Chances are, because if they would have known at the start of the season that we may be in this particular phase of the competition, they could have got us to play on the Sunday or the Saturday. We've not had a game, you know. They could have rescheduled the fixture. Newcastle haven't been playing either. I believe there's some sort of agenda there, but we're not going to go into that one today. But I'm expecting a really, really tough challenge for Napoli, especially playing away. Our away form is not good anyway. It hasn't improved much from last season. I believe we've won, I think, one or two games in comparison to last season away more. So, yeah, away, I'm not looking forward to that. But you never know. I still have faith that we can come away with a result. If we can get a draw away, then the rest can work itself out once we come back home, you know.
We're at home first.
Oh, so if we can win the home fixture on Thursday, then if we go away, grab a goal, at least a goal or two, then I can see us going further. But yeah, as I said, Napoli will be a very, very tough game for me, to be honest.
I mean, basically, in the past, when we've done well in the Champions League before, these kind of big games, we've always done well by keeping clean sheets. And I think at home, clean sheet has to be the main target. And then if we can score a goal at home, great, because that then puts pressure for the away leg. Now, we're going to have to put up with, they're going to be falling all over the place. They're going to be rocking and rolling. If you touch them or go near them, they're going to be conning the ref. We've all seen that before. And Emery will know, and he'll be warning his players. They're going to be rolling, and the moment you go near them. So just put up with that. And hopefully, you'll get a ref who can see through it. Yeah.
But these continental refs are never like that. They'll be giving everything away. You know?
Yeah.
I think the home leg is vitally important. This matchup reminds me very much of the Atletico home leg last April, where we couldn't put Atletico away.
No.
And the failure to score that second goal and to put them away cost us. I was thinking about it the other day, Terry. You'll know yourself. In my experience as an Arsenal fan, you think of the times we've been to Italy and been successful, you know, going to Turin and knocking Juventus out, going to Genoa, knocking Sampdoria out. Okay, it was on penalties. Going to Milan, winning in Milan, winning in Roma as well, in Rome against Roma. You know, they're all important matches, but the game in Naples is going to be really, really hard. And I think we've got to. I think we need to win. I think we need to win. I think we need to win. If you said to me now, we win 2-1, I would take that, because if we was to draw at home, then you've got the same scenario as going to Madrid back in April. You know, as I say, with the examples I gave about our previous time in Italy and Turin and Genoa and Rome, hopefully and Milan, hopefully it will stand us in good stead. But this is just such an important tie. You know, as we know, you know, a quarter of a century since our last European trophy, I'm trying to drum home how important it is for the people like us that know how special 1994 wasn't just the way we won it. It was who we beat on the way and who we faced in the final, and coming off the back of a 5-year ban where English teams didn't win in Europe, but yet we did. And so we're very lucky to know how special it was. But for the new generation, exactly a quarter of a century later, this is a fantastic opportunity. And I just hope we can take it with both hands. I hear people saying things about, top 4 Europa League. For me, go full pelt for this European trophy, and then that gives Champions League qualification. And wouldn't it be marvellous to go into Unai Emery's second season being taken just that little bit more seriously in Europe, because we will be going in as Europa League winners.
Yep. And the whole point of being a fan is that you want to see silverware, you know, and that I would rather drop, be 5th than win the Europa League, because you're going to be in the Champions League anyway.
I agree, Terry. I'd rather win a trophy, celebrate, go to the parade, rather than battle it out for the top 4. Trophies count. League positions, unless if it's the top 1, doesn't count.
We lost the UEFA Cup final in 2000. You know, a long time ago now. We know we got to the final of this competition and lost. We played in the Champions League final in 2006. We reached the Champions League semi-final in 2009 as well. You know, this is a great opportunity, and to see it glide by would be very disappointing. I mean, I can understand people hankering for Europe Champions League, but the Champions League changes at an ever-expanding rate. There's going to be new teams in the Champions League next season, which not many people expect. Yes, it would be nice to be at the top table, but I'd much rather win the Europa League first and then look forward to go to the next stage after that.
Just to add on to that, James, 2006 was horrendous.
Yeah. Why do you take Pires off?
It was
exactly.
Why on earth? I mean, not just because he's one of the greatest wingers the club has ever had, but you could have took Kleb off. You could have found a way.
Yeah.
And then top it all off, the greatest player ever to play for the club doesn't even come on as sub. And then you compare that to what Rijkaard did with Larsen. Larsen on the pitch, they win the game. Now, if we could have counterbalanced that, we'd have a European Cup now.
Yeah.
It was such a shame that evening, but I still have that image of Arsene Wenger standing by the trophy, just glancing from a distance. You know.
Yeah.
Painful. Really, really painful.
Yeah, I've got to say about that. I was there and suffered it, and I always thought Lehmann had a big mistake in him, and unfortunately he saved it for a final, man. Yeah. And I think the same about Xhaka. I really hate to say this, but I think Xhaka's got a big mistake in him, And I hope to God, if we get to the final this year, he doesn't do something stupid. Because I think whoever wins,
he's due a mistake soon. He's not. He's been quite.
He's quiet for a while
recently.
Yeah, I think, lads. I think whoever wins the Napoli Arsenal final match gets through to the final. I think either Napoli or Arsenal will be a finalist, and then it's potluck as to who you meet.
I think we'll get to the final. I stuck my neck out on the previous Can of Fodder pod. Frankfurt will be in the final.
Wow.
You think so?
Yep.
That's a bold statement, James.
TC, if you look how they have been in this competition, they've
been phenomenal.
They didn't just get through their group with Lazio and last year's finalist Marseille. They have they blitzed that group, and that's a tough group, and they blitzed it both home and away, knocking out Inter Milan. And then nobody expected them to go through. I did. I mean, I think they were priced 8-1 to win that game over here, so I stuck a euro on it.
Oh, did you?
But they've got tremendous width, and as I've been saying when I've been on this pod this season as well, history will tell you for this competition, there is always a team that reaches the final which nobody expects. Ajax a couple of years ago, Dnipro when they played Seville, Marseille last year. You could make a case for. There's always a team, and I think Frankfurt will be at home in both the second leg against Benfica and the potential semi. And you saw how well they played at home to Inter Milan when they kept them at bay. Yeah. They're just a very good side, and I think I don't know if it's a British thing. Look, obviously, I'm looking from afar. I get the impression sometimes that if it's not Real Madrid or Barcelona, the rest are pub teams. That's nothing to be further proof. I think Terry's prediction is very interesting, but also remember that this is a quarter-final and a potential semi-final. You're looking at Valencia, who are. They were baying for the manager's blood not so long ago. Villarreal are fighting relegation, but they're also going to want to play in the European final. So this is anybody's Europa League, but we've got to try to give it all we've got, and fingers crossed we can do it.
It's going to be tough. It's going to be very, very tough. Right, I'm very mindful that team.
And are we talking about Chelsea getting through then? And then if Arsenal get through, are we going to end up with Chelsea-Arsenal semi-final? Because they tend to, I don't know how they manage it, but they tend to avoid. Imagine going to Azerbaijan and an Arsenal-Chelsea final. I can't see that. So I wonder if we do get through, if we'll be drawn against Chelsea.
No, the semi-final draw's already been made, Terry.
Oh, go on.
Yeah, Arsenal will play Valencia or Villarreal.
Villarreal.
Okay.
I believe the second leg will be away.
Right.
Off the top of my head, the second leg will be away. And Valencia have improved, but at one point the white handkerchiefs were out for the manager. I think back in December for the Valencia manager. And Villarreal are fighting relegation, and people were saying, "Oh, they're fighting relegation. They must be crap." They're not. Your man Cazorla is playing out of his skin, and it's going to be an opportunity for Villarreal. I think they have a population of 60,000 people in their community to play in a European final. And,
that's huge.
That's going to be a huge carrot for them. I just think it's anybody's trophy. I've just got this feeling for Frankfurt, and I just hope we go full pelt, and we've got to win that home leg because I see so many similarities between the upcoming Napoli match in Atletico last April that I just hope we learn from our mistakes and don't be timid when we go to Naples. We were timid in the Wanda Metropolitano away to Madrid last April. The first 15 minutes I watched it and I had my hand in my mouth thinking, no. Why wouldn't you take this opportunity? It's a golden opportunity. And for me as well, the group of players we have, when your career is over and you look back and you haven't won a European trophy, it's not, I was playing for Arsenal. Players have to take responsibility too. Emery's won this competition 3 times. He's going to try his hardest to win it a 4th. The players are going to have to take responsibility. Remember what happened last year and try to go at least one better.
Yeah.
Round by round, game by game.
And also, I've read his biography. all his previous victories in the Europa League were all close, all touch and go, all the way through. And he's the kind of guy that if it's a close game, his tactical knowledge, his
sorry
ability...
guys, my battery's just died on my phone. I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to make an exit. I've got to work as well.
All right, TC. Listen, we'll catch
TC,
up.
it's a pleasure.
Catch up. Take care. Take care,
Thanks
TC.
for having me, Alex.
All right, no worries. We'll catch up.
No, I was
TC.
just saying, if you read his biography, he didn't have an easy ride to the final in any of the three finals Emery won, you know. But he's a great guy for tight games. You know, he reads the opposition well, and when the game is in progress, he can do in-game substitutions that sort of make a difference. I really rate Emery. I just wish, you know, long term the club can offer him a decent amount of money to just get some real good level players in. But he will always do well with whatever players are in front of him. And yeah, as I said earlier, I'd rather see us win the Europa League and come fifth, because you've got a trophy. You're in the Champions League anyway.
Yeah. And it's the European trophy for the new generation too.
Yeah.
Well, you know, James, you know, mentioned about the players have to take responsibility, and at the end of their career, they will look back and say, you know, I had an opportunity, you know, I didn't do my best. But I don't think Emery will allow the players to have that kind of mindset anyway. No.
And I think with the away game in Madrid, as I say, the similarities, I know that was a semi-final and this is a quarter-final, but for me, the similarities are there. I mean, in the run-up to the second leg in Madrid, you had the win it for Wenger kind of thing, which I didn't, you know, it's about winning it for yourself and winning it for the club and then take care of the rest. But, you know, as I say, we are lucky to remember how special 94 was. And I mean, for me, I don't know what you two think. I've been supporting the club for over 30 years. The whole run of 94 and 95 to a certain degree when we lost the final, you know, that victory is one of my fondest memories and right up there with the Invincibles. Not so much in terms of, I'm not trying to compare the achievements, but if you think of the previous rounds, back in 94, we went away to Standard Liège and won 7-0. And then everyone's looking, you know, who wins 7-0 in Europe? Well, we did. And then you battle against Paris Saint-Germain in a semi-final with your best striker not playing. And I think Wright did play the semi-final. Sorry, it was the final he didn't play.
It was the final,
but the whole round. I mean, I remember as a kid running down the stairs, putting on the TV, asking my mum if I could stay up late to watch it. And the whole, even the final itself. I mean, Palmer, Nevio Scala, Asprilla, Brolin, Zola. It was a cracking Palmer side and a very good manager as well. So we're very lucky to remember 94. I mean, I just want it happened again for the feeling, but also for the next generation as well. It would be quite something.
Yeah. All right, so just kind of wrap up the last thing we want to talk about, and I have been tweeting LTL this week because I was feeling a little bit nostalgic.
I'm getting no feed, guys, from Al there.
Hello, can you hear me? LTL?
James, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear Alex.
Al.
All right, give me 1 second. I'm going to just ramp it up a little bit. So the butchers.
Al, have you trodden on the lead?
Can you hear me now? Hotel.
Can you hear him, James?
I can hear him and you.
I can't hear Big Al there.
All right, hang on a minute.
Oh, he's going to check. James, can I ask you a question?
No problem. Fire away.
I was reading your interview with Seb Larson and that.
Yeah.
What I thought was wonderful was not just what he said, but your questions were really good. Now, did you go in with a set of questions, or did you have one or two and then let his answers direct you to the next question?
Well, if I can be brutally honest, it's always a balance. It's always a balance. You have an idea, and then you can switch. I'll give you an example. The current manager of Venlo, Maurice Stein, he's been linked with the Ipswich job. When I went to interview him in Venlo, I think it was till last August now, or it might have been the August before, perhaps. He has in his managerial office a framed photo with him with Mourinho, because when you become a professional manager here in the Netherlands, you must do your internship, if you like, under a professional manager. And it was because of his friendship with Van Nistelrooy that he managed to get a spot at Real Madrid and learn from Mourinho when it was at Real Madrid. So we spoke about that. And yeah, you just kind of, you find a balance really. And it's about, you know, just always trying to, everyone's got a story to tell. I mean, I never thought when I started out that I'd get this far, but you just have to keep going and keep working hard. And yeah, it's about accuracy and honesty, and that players feel comfortable. I mean, I like to think, Terry, as well, that because of the depth of the questions, the player or the manager, they feel very comfortable. I mean, it's been I mean, the season is nearly finished. I mean, it's been quite surreal as well. You know, when you get a phone call from Danny Cowley, who's busy enough, and this was at the start of the season, and he said to me, James, I don't normally do telephone interviews, but I've read some of your stuff and it's really good, and I'm more than happy to help you. And now it's highly likely that he's going to win League Two and become successful. And yeah, so we just keep working hard and we'll see what the future will bring.
Yeah, do you know what I think it comes across as? You are a true football fan first. Yeah. You aren't a journalist who's happens to be covering football. Yeah. You're a football fan who is keen to add to your skills, you know, your journalistic skills. And that way you're talking as one of them, really, because you kind of see it from what makes their heartbeat, if you see what I mean. And you're not trying to trip them up, you know.
Oh no, I pride myself on honesty, Terry. I've been more than 80 interviews now. I've never had a single complaint, which is good. But for me, it's about keep working hard and keep going, because the ultimate dream is to one day work for a professional football club in a media setting. Like, for example, press officer, assistant press officer. And the great thing is, like, for example, when I spoke to Dennis Bergkamp's nephew, Roland, who used to play for Brighton, I tailor-make the interviews where, if it's a Dutch player or manager, the interview is done entirely in Dutch. If it's a Spanish player or manager, it's in Spanish. If it's a Swedish or a Danish or a German, then that's done in English. But yeah, you try to tailor make them, and yeah, who knows? I might end up with the greatest Arsenal player one day. I'm not entirely sure. That would be that would be the one that would get me the most excited, I think.
Yeah. Funny enough, there's a guy I met a few years ago at the 12 Pins in Finsbury Park. Big, tall fella, about 6'5" or 6, and he works for Sky. I'm trying to think of his name. I think his first name was Guy. A big Arsenal fan, owns 2 or 3 season tickets, and he said to me, "I'm often interviewing Arsene Wenger, and you can always tell when it's me because I'm not normally on camera, but I'm the only person that Arsene Wenger has to look upwards to because he's so tall."
Goodness.
You know, but obviously there is a market there for somebody who can pose questions and make the players feel at ease.
Yeah, well, I'm quite astounded that in 2.5 short years that it's got to that point.
Yeah,
because I remember when I started, and obviously everything is new, and then one leads to the other, and it's one big kind of snowball effect. And I never thought when I started that you got the likes of Danny Cowley and Sebastian Larsson and Graham Potter and Ricky Van Olswinkel and the nephew of Dennis Bergkamp, which is fantastic. And and also Van der Donk, who plays for Arsenal Ladies. That was fun. And yeah, just keep working hard, and who knows what the future will bring.
Yeah, nice one. Has Big Al got his foot off the lead now?
He came on, and then I think he went off again.
I think he's gone to sleep, is he? Hang on. Al, are you there? He's gone.
I think he'll be back on in a sec.
He hasn't moved.
No, no. Will you be at the game on Monday, Tel?
Yeah, are you going?
No, I'll be at the Napoli home game.
Oh, okay. I might see you before or after the game.
Yeah, and then probably be my last game of the season because I'm in the process of moving here. So, and I think I might have to leave a potential semi-final. I might have to leave that one, but we'll just have to wait and see.
And
yeah, always a pleasure to get to games from this end.
Yeah, you're in the Netherlands, yeah.
I was originally from the UK, Tel, and I emigrated here more than a decade ago now.
And are you fairly fluent in Dutch?
Completely fluent.
Are you?
My Dutch is as good as my English, or at least I think it is.
Well, I work with a woman who's got that Dutch ancestry, and she was telling me, Big Al will know her. She was telling me that you can't have British and Dutch passport.
No, you can't.
You have to choose.
I've received what they call a temporary work permit or a staying permit from the country that I live and work for the last 13 years.
Yeah.
They have sent me paperwork, but from my own country, upon which I'm still a passport holder, I have not heard a dicky bird. Not one dicky bird. Nothing of note.
Wow. Goodness. Yeah, see, I've got Irish passport because of Irish parents, so I'm kind of safe, you know.
Yeah, well, I received my temporary permit, and do you know, I fly back on what they assume is the morning of the deadline, because I think the deadline is April the 12th at midnight. I fly back to the Netherlands, the first flight of that day after Arsenal Napoli, and I have to make sure I have my letter with me because otherwise they'll stamp my passport, and I have to explain all the ins and outs that I've been living here for more than a decade and I work here and all these different kind of things. But I'm sure it'll be fine. I think one thing about the Dutch, which they always do really well, Terry, is the infrastructure here, also for a small country, is extremely good. They will always look at things. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. I'm just thinking off the top of my head. I wouldn't be surprised if they had a separate lane for British people that day, where they could. I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, I'd like to think that obviously with command of the language and all my paperwork and everything, I'll breeze through, and I'm sure I will. Yeah. But you just never know. We just have to wait and see.
Yeah. Right, James, hang on. Al's woke up. Al, are you all right down there?
You're back.
Can you hear me now?
Was having a nice chat.
Yeah, just like having problems with my wife over the last 10 minutes.
I can't hear you, Al. take your foot off the cable.
Don't worry, I'll tell. But listen, the last one we wanted to talk about before my Wi-Fi goes again was number sevens. The famous players who have worn the number sevens. I can't hear you. You can't hear me?
I can't hear him, James.
I can hear you both.
Well, you know what, Tel?
Al, you got your foot on the cable, man.
No, I haven't, Tel. I think you probably got your foot on your cable, mate. Anyway, the famous number seven.
We hate Tottenham.
Yeah, like I was saying, I was feeling a little bit nostalgia over the last few days, and I was sending messages to and fro with Eltel.
Maybe his wife's pulled the plug on him.
Tel, behave yourself. I'm trying to like wrap it up with the last 5 minutes. James, who has been your famous or your favourite number seven Arsenal player? Well,
my favourite would have to be Pires, because I saw him play the most. But I would also give a shout out to Rocky Rocastle, because I may have been very young. I may have been very young, but the impact he had, and I think it's his anniversary. It's the anniversary of his death on Sunday, I believe. Yeah. I think it'll be. I think it'll be 18 years off the top of my head. I think. And I still remember David Dean's words where he's gone to watch him in a youth setup, and he goes home to his family and he says, "I've seen a player today. He could be a Brazilian player. He's that good. He's that skillful, and he's from Lewisham," which I thought was quite funny. But just gone but not forgotten. I really hope. I mean, I'm sure the programme has already been made for Monday, but I really hope that Arsenal learn the lessons of the time that's gone by. on the game of the anniversary of his death, put him on the front cover. Don't put. I mean, I remember the Man City game a couple of years ago, where instead of it being Rocky Rocastle, it was Sanchez. I remember being at home in the Watford game, I think the year before, when they said before the match started, we'll be doing something at half time, and they never did.
They didn't, yeah.
No, and I remember that. And yeah, I think for how often I saw him play, I would say Robert Pires, but I would also give a very special mention to David Rocastle.
Okay. Eltel, who would be your favourite number 7? He can't hear me, can he?
I can't hear Al. I don't know if you can. Is he talking to me?
Yeah, he's asked you who your favourite number 7s were.
Okay, well, me and Al, we're talking about Liam Brady.
Yeah.
And I think for fans who might be watching this who have seen the kind of best of Brady, it's worth knowing that up to about the age of 23, he was a wonderful player. But when he got to 23, his vision improved immensely. And you could then see this guy's close to world class. So he was always a very good, tasty player. He invented, if you look at old footage of him, what we used to call the Brady drag back. A player would come towards him, he'd put his studs on the ball and pull it back away from the player and do a shimmy left or right and go away from him. And yeah, he always had those skills, but from about the age of 23, he suddenly developed this ability to see, a bit like Ozil, what was going on around him and to play the perfect pass. And just interestingly, I always remember I went to see a match. We played Crystal Palace away around about Christmas time, I think. And for some reason, we had lots of injuries. And for the first half, I think Terry Neal might have been the manager. They played him at centre forward. Oh, my God. What a disaster. A total disaster. You suddenly realised he had very little pace and he didn't have a big physique. And all the Arsenal fans were going, what the heck? And they, in the second half, they changed it around and he dropped back into midfield and he was still fantastic. So it's a good example of you can't just put a good player into any place on the pitch. But he really did play centre forward for 45 minutes once at Palace. So going back into the history, I mean, it's hard to look past Brady, but my heart says Rocastle. Yeah. My heart says Rocastle, and I think no self-respecting Arsenal fan should go beyond him, and he should be, as you say, lauded in the programme on the anniversary. And we should maybe even get a statue up for him, because he was some player. When George Graham sold him to Leeds, he cried. They were genuine tears of, I love Arsenal. So, yeah, I think we've all got a soft spot for him, yeah.
So just to actually mention some names, famous names who have worn the number 7 shirt. Of course, recent times, well, Henrik Mkhitaryan, Alexis Sanchez. I
still can't hear Al.
Thomas Rosicky. Robert Pires.
The other number 7s tell with Rosicky, with Alexis, with Mkhitaryan.
David Platt.
Yeah.
Kevin Campbell.
What a buy he was.
Perry Groves. Maybe more in my era. Liam Brady, Alan Ball, John Hollins, Brian Talbot, and Alan Sunderland. So these are the famous players. There's some problem with hear me, but I'm going to wrap up because I've had some problems with my as well. Okay. James, I want to say again,
still can't hear him.
Yeah, thank you very much indeed. It's been a pleasure. I really enjoyed it, and I shall see you both again soon.
Yeah. And
okay,
again,
James.
Congratulations again, James. 2,900 Twitter followers.
Yeah,
and
nice.
Also, again,
hard, and I think if I can take this opportunity to plug my latest interview with ex-Arsenal player Sebastian Larsson.
Of course you can, James.
For the fans watching that haven't read it yet, you can follow me on @JamesRowanell. In my Twitter bio, You've got all the links to the latest interviews where we talk about Sebastian Larsson's time at Arsenal. And I won't spoil it too much, but I'd like to think it's a good read. It
is. It is. I know Eltel can't hear me, but Godfather, thanks for coming on the show. James, tell him I said thank you.
Alex says, Godfather, thank you very much for coming on the show.
Lovely, guys. I'm sorry our line's broken down. I could probably shout to where you live, man.
Yeah, just a few streets down.
Anyway, lovely talking to you, Al and James.
Take it easy.
God bless. And I might meet you two Monday night, yeah?
Well, James is not there, but I'll be there. I'll be there.
I might see you at Napoli if you're both going there.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Anyhow, this is Cannon Fodder, the channel for Arsenal fans all over the world, and we are out.